Hello and welcome to the Advertiser's Guide to the Galaxy, a show where I, Karthik Srinivasan, pick on recent ad campaigns and put you in a vantage point to look at them in newer perspectives. In today's episode, I am going to be talking about the recent Teachers' Day campaign by Navneet Education, made by the agency FCB Interface. The recent Teachers' Day campaign by Navneet Education, called TR for Teacher, as in TR as in teacher, DR as in doctor, by the agency FCB Interface did not work for me at all, for more than one reason. This despite someone as influential as Anand Mahindra going gaga over it. Here's what happens when the ad that is framed as a social experiment where unsuspecting participants are asked questions on camera. 4 professionals are seated in front of the participants. 3 of them have titles: an army major, who is a captain, a judge who's got the title justice, and a doctor who's got the title DR, while the 4th is a lady simply named Smita Patel. The participants are asked to choose the most important person of the 4, and they choose the major, doctor, and the judge respectively because they identify the titles. Then the participants are asked to pick the least important person, and they all pick poor Miss Smita Patel. Finally, it is revealed that Smita Ji was the teacher who taught the other 3. Now the participants feel visibly awkward, and the ad closes with a call to action that teachers should be able to use TR as a title so people can identify their profession instantly. The first dimension that doesn't work for me is the narrative device, a social experiment. I already have a huge issue with the so-called social experiment device because of how obviously fake they seem. They rank right next to another closely related narrative device used often in advertising called candid videos. Both end up seeming so very obviously fake. Navneet Education's TR for Teacher campaign is a social experiment where people behave almost as if they are in a badly made horror film. Sans logic or common sense. For instance, why doesn't even one person ask who the lady without the title in her name is? Wouldn't that be absolutely imperative when the moderator is asking them to name the most important and the least important among the 4? Based purely on common sense, wouldn't you want to know the basic details of the 4? And particularly the one who does not have a title but is also the oldest among them, before coming to a rudimentary conclusion on the most important or the least important? Or why doesn't even one person refuse the grading exercise, arguing that A, they don't know what one of the 4 does, and B, that it's unfair to pick between 2 important professions, leave alone 4? It's possible that someone did say that, but because it does not flow in a direction that the audience should think in, to specifically and clinically make a case for TR for teacher, it probably was edited out of this film. Or the other possibility is that the entire social experiment is fully scripted and the participants are all just actors simply acting their parts. Both these are not crimes, but they make this exercise disingenuous. Why? Because if the commonsensical quips are edited out, what we see is a preordained narrative. And if all these people are simply actors and the whole video is scripted, the audience that is supposed to buy into an otherwise well-intended and noble concept deserves to know the truth. If, for example, they had mentioned the profession of each person explicitly and not just by title, how do you think the participants would have reacted? The second dimension that has me going against the ad film is the fact that it forces a relative comparison between the professions. For instance, within the social experiment, why doesn't even one person say, sorry, I cannot choose the most important or the least important? That's like comparing apples and oranges. Each person, including the lady who doesn't have a title, but considering she's placed among the 4, I am sure she does have an important profession, has an important role to play in their respective professions in our society. The forced effort to grade professions is being done towards the purpose of elevating the role of teachers. I get that. And teaching as a profession is quite foundational too. No arguments there whatsoever. But this logic is a slippery slope. Imagine a comparison between a doctor and a teacher, for instance. We could gleefully enter the chicken or egg zone if we ask, Is a teacher more important because she taught the doctors, or a doctor more important because she gave birth to a teacher in the first place? That brings me to the third dimension of my objection, the intent of this very exercise. To be sure, I love the intent of this exercise. I completely and totally agree that the teaching profession is the most important in our society. I have said so many times too in the past. And to be fair to Navneet and FCB Interface, there's only so much that they can do for teachers. But the ad film focuses on a performative exercise like adding a title than arguing for changing the actual condition of teachers and the profession itself. That's why they have a change.org petition as a call to action. What would change in a teacher's life if TR is added to their names? Respect from society? Possibly, but that too eventually, once enough people understand and realize what that title means. The other three professions, the captain, the judge, and the doctor, are already fairly rewarding. Not just based on the respect they get from the society, but also in terms of standards of living. The mere titles and the respect they get of the other three professions do not improve the standard of living of the people who choose them. People don't pick those professions for respect alone. There is a lot more to the decision and choice. I assume Navneet simply wanted to start somewhere. That start could be about getting people to look at teachers with more respect. How would they get more respect? When people come to know that someone is a teacher? Is it enough to look at someone with respect? That's where the film's framing makes us think in specific direction. When you hear that the captain, the judge, and the doctor were taught by the fourth person, the teacher, you automatically feel respect for the teacher. If the fourth person was a primary school teacher younger than the other three, what would your reaction be and what would the reaction of the participants be? Think about it. I do think Navneet and FCB Interface have an interesting idea on their hand. It's a catchy idea that is very easy to rally behind because it offers the illusion of an instant outcome. But what we end up having is not an outcome, it is merely an output. And in doing so, it uses a creative device that does total injustice to the very idea itself. That's all for today, and we'll be back next week with another piece of marketing communication and another round of insights. If you want to reach out to me, I am at Beast of Troll across Instagram and Twitter, and Karthik Srinivasan on LinkedIn. I also happen to have a blog by the same name. You can listen to the show on the IVM Podcast app, website, or across any audio platform. The show is also available on YouTube, by the way. Just search for The Advertiser's Guide to the Galaxy on YouTube. You can reach out to IVM at IVM Podcast across Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Thank you so much for listening.